All right, good. It's another hot day, but at least the internet is in some sort of usable condition. I say that as I'm dropping frames again. Um, yeah, so I think the appropriate thing to do would be to go look at the Harbor changes first. So let's do that. So just in case you haven't seen them. Hey, Fatboy Not So Slim and You Say I. How are you doing? So yesterday my speed test was I've already closed the tab, I think, but basically yesterday my speed test was showing 0.8 megabits down and 2 megabits up when I'm paying for 100 down and 20 up. Today it's showing 20 down and 24 up, I think, which still doesn't give me like absolutely perfect connection to Twitch, but it means I can stream at 5 up. So that's, I'll take that any day of the week. Chat was trying to connect. Oh, hopefully no Twitch issues on top of internet issues on my side. So yeah, 3D and 2D changes coming in 2021 under new ownership. I have hopefully got a somewhat accurate summary. Chat, yeah, I don't think I can do anything about chat. That's just the platform. Hopefully it goes away. So I'll zoom in. Is there even like full screen? Whatever. Okay, so this is still under discussion. There've already been some changes, but here is a summary of what I'm able to glean from the thread. It's sort of in a XLS sort of format in the thread, which I don't like. I just want to see the differences to last year. So these are the 2D globals. These are the 3D ones that are added, removed, 2D, 3D, and then higher points, which is probably more up in the air, but there you go. I just have a separate section for that. The big one is PyFast. So for folks who are old enough to remember, I think it was the beginning of 2019, possibly. I don't think there were very big changes at the beginning of 2020. So it was either 2019 or 2018. PyFast and SuperPy 1M were removed at the same time. So if you can visualize the top section of all of the benches as you're submitting or as you're checking the rankings, the sort of oldest benches in existence are in order, CPU frequency, PyFast, SuperPy 1M, SuperPy 32M, W prime 32M, and W prime 1024M. And I think W prime 32M globals were dropped in an earlier year, but basically there was a time not so long ago. I was already benching. I've only been benching since middle of 2017, I think. There was a time where every single one of those benches had globals. And then over successive years, they pared it down to the point where we were at right now, which is CPU frequency, SuperPy 32M, and W prime 1024M, which I don't mind the shorter W prime being dropped because that's sub 1 second now on HEDT. So that's always an issue because anytime a bench goes consistently sub 1 second, it ends up being very, very glitchable and very inconsistent and stuff. So that was fine to drop that. In general, I don't really mind so much when there's multiple flavors of a bench and one of them gets dropped. Like they did the same thing with Cinebench 11.5. They went, I think 11.5 used to get globals. Then they added Cinebench 15 globals, and then they removed 11.5. And now, of course, we're evolving on further to have Cinebench 20 globals and added, and Cinebench 15 globals removed. But my point being, I didn't mind so much W prime 32M being dropped and Super Pi 1M, but the fact that PiFast was dropped as well, it sort of meant that there was no single threaded benches anymore. Like 32M is minutes long, on older platforms is half an hour. So dropping both PiFast and 1M it hurt a little bit, because I still find it cool to see a 1M record at like 7.45 gigahertz or whatever. And that meant that there was no purely single threaded, like not pure CPU, but CPU leaning rather than memory leaning, which is 32M bench left. So I'm glad that they're, at least as the proposal stands, they're re-adding PiFast. Why Cruncher 1B? I mean, people like the thing about new benches is, I think they have to bring something new to the table. You know, they have to be, I think, visually interesting in the case of 3 benches, or just stress the system differently in the case of 2D benches. And Y Cruncher fits the bill, because Y Cruncher somehow manages to, well, I'll wait for my internet to stabilize. Y Cruncher somehow manages to stress memory kind of even more than 32M, Super Pi 32M. So we saw that last year in the Country Cup. In the one of my, oh, that's actually a weird camera I've got there. But anyway, I guess I'll fix it later. Now I'm too. Where's my postcode? Here we go. Postcode time. Yes. I wish I could leave the green alien crotch in there, but anyway, okay. Can be perfect. So what I was saying, yeah, so Y Cruncher is just an interesting bench because it allocates a shit ton of memory, which most benches don't do. Even though the Cinebenches like to have a lot of memory available, they don't actually like allocate and use the memory. It's kind of weird, but Y Cruncher allocates a lot of memory. Is cross-platform, which is probably not the motivation behind adding it here, but that's a nice bonus. And it's just a new bench that's very different to what else is out there. And there's 2 more flavors of it, which are getting 25M and 10B are getting hardware points. But the thing about that is 25M again has the same sort of issue that GPU Pi 1B on cards has, and W Prime 32M, is that it just runs really, really fast. So it just ends too quickly. And then 10B is the other direction, where you sort of need, I think the figure is something along the lines of, you can just about squeeze 10B into 64 gigabytes of RAM typically if you strip your OS enough. And that makes it sort of a weird bench that runs forever and stuff. So not really ready for GPU Pi, for globals. But we do see an inflation in the amount of memory in people's systems, so we could see that being introduced later, I think. But just now, good to have 1B in there. It's sort of a little bit of unfortunate coincidence that we have another CPU bench that has 1B in the title, so that will be confusing. Y Cruncher 1B and GPU Pi 1B, but okay, that's unavoidable. So Cinebench 20. What this is obviously a very can you find it? Yeah, this is obviously a very sort of personal gripe I have with this bench, but the fact that it involves rendering a goddamn fucking couch is just retarded, just stupid. Sorry, that's an offensive word. I'll take that back. It's stupid. It's demotivating. Let's use neutral language in this rant at least. Why do I have to spend LN2 on rendering a sofa and a fucking a living room that I'll say this again, I've said this before, a living room that's not even straight. Look at it. I'm running my mouse straight across the screen, and you can see at the skirting board that actually the person taking this really fucking boring picture of a living room thought they had to employ some sort of creative license and take a skewed picture. Either that or they were incapable of holding a camera straight. And I don't straight and level, and I don't know what's worse. I think both of them are terrible options. So, and is that actually, hold on, I just spotted something even more objectionable about this render. Is this, how can I zoom into this fucking thing? Let me, I want to just open the image. Why is it so complicated? I want to rant. Why don't you let me rant? Okay, maybe I can just zoom in. Oh, it downloaded it as a PNG. Okay, so here, let's dissect some more. Is this an actual fucking CD rack on the side here? Do you see that? A CD rack. Like, who the hell cares? Who even has a CD rack anymore? Is this person who owns this room like a serial killer or something? And then we've got a speaker. Well, that's fair enough. And some generic like art on the walls and stuff. It's an imaginary restoration project. This is a render. Okay, well, but all of my points still stand. Okay, so instead of somebody holding a camera crooked, someone saw fit to render something crooked, which also doesn't make any sense, you know, like whatever. Anyway, so, but taking all of that into account, it's not in HiRobot's control what rendered images are included in Cinebench, and there's a general trend in, let's say, the wider benchmarking community, which is inescapable, which is to not consider Cinebench 15 as a real world bench anymore, which is, I don't know if that's earned or not, but anyway, those are the facts on the ground. And it is true that Cinebench 15 is again finishing quicker and quicker, which goes back to my previous point. You want to avoid benches that finish too quickly. You want to avoid benches that run too long, but you also want to avoid benches which run too quickly. Yes, owning CDs makes you a serial killer. I stand by that statement. Or at least, I think that people own CDs, but they at least have the decency not to have them out on display in the living room. And somebody who renders, who puts like time and effort into like drawing polygons and rendering a fake scene that's supposed to look like a photograph, certainly shouldn't be putting a CD rack in there. That's just, that person is a serial killer. So Cinebench 20, fair enough. I'm a bit neutral about it. You can take it or leave it. I've avoided conviction. Cinebench 23. So Ginger said that it sucks because it takes 10 minutes. Yeah, so that falls under the too long category. I think what they're trying to do there, again, I always rate like, you know, coming from the right place, like correct, let's say, or like well-spirited motivations, I rate that highly. So the motivation, I would say, behind adding Cinebench 23 single is to again have more single-threaded benches. So that I like, because there's a huge difference between the number of multi-threaded benches and single-threaded benches on HiRobot, and that needs to change. That's where the designer keeps their human skin collection. Okay, fair enough. Valid point. So 23 single, maybe it has to be tuned a bit, but since we only have Geekbench 4 single, now PyFast and SuperPy32M as single threaded benches, and I would still put an asterisk behind Geekbench 4 single because it's a bench where you can't sub select the single aspect of it. So you still have to run. You might downclock or whatever, but you still have to run the multi-threaded part of the bench. So that's not a true single threaded bench. So adding Cinebench 23 single is good from that perspective. PC Mark 10, that's sort of a different topic. PC Mark in general has sort of a checkered past on hardware bot. It was, from what I hear, was a really good, really tweakable bench back in the day. PC Mark 04 and 05, and it got global points, and people ran crazy raid arrays and stuff, and it made a lot of sense from that perspective. And people were sad when it was pulled, but it was pulled because there were a few subtests that could be like cheated in a major way, and it doesn't seem, again, I wasn't around at the time, so I don't really know, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem as though the manufacturer of the bench was really interested in fixing those inaccuracies and just flat out like full on broken aspects of the bench. So now adding 10, is it going to be the same story again? No, don't really know. But having run PC Max 7 competitively, and I think I still have number 4 score in the world or something, not that means anything, but I did run it on LN2. That is already a 14-minute benchmark, and PC Mark 10 I've run for more, haven't run as often as 7, but that's a longer benchmark. That's something like a 20 to 25 minute bench, if I remember right, and that's starting to get a bit problematic, to say the least. That's too long. So that's the first issue. The second issue, same with all of the PC marks, is you can't run a subtest and generate a score just for that subtest. So you have to run the entire suite. So if you've got, I think in the case of PC Mark 10, you might have 20 or 30 subtests. If you want to tweak, and I mean tweak in the real sense, not, you know, cheat or fake or whatever. If you just want to find out what a certain subtest is sensitive to i.e., you know, storage, CPU, memory, GPU, or a mix of all of those, you have to be able to run that, just that subtest. And Geekbench has the same problem, by the way, but Geekbench at least is much faster to finish. So it's less of a sin, let's say, the fact that you can't just run memory bandwidth or just run DFFT or whatever. But on PC Mag, it just sort of kills the bench for me. But they may still, you know, I think those sort of issues will become apparent, and this will be removed again, or may not even be added in the first place. Let's see. I don't know. Let's give them sort of the benefit of the doubt. And the other aspect of it is, currently PC marks are ranked by core ranking. So there's globals for single core, dual core, quad core, tri-core, hex core, 8 core, whatever. If they continue that, I can tell you even PC Mark 10 is not really threaded. So that's a false distinction. I hope they do a global ranking the way they do SuperPi 32M, and it's just fastest score gets the most globals, no matter what platform you're on or how many cores you're on. On the 3 side, they're deciding to add 3 Mark 06, which was removed last revision. That's kind of cool. And I think they're actually removing 05, yes, and they're removing 05. I don't know, that's a bit of a switch around. Historically, we had Aquamark 01, 03, 05, and 06 out of the legacy benches, so basically everything except, you know, silly stuff like 3D Mark 99 and 2000. Then they slowly chipped away, got rid of Aquamark, which I didn't like, got rid of 06, which I didn't like. Now they're going to remove 05 and add 06. It's sort of, I don't know. I think that 06 is overall the better bench because it's got more sort of subtlety to it. Early on in the thread, they were sort of threatening to remove 03, and that would have been a big deal because 03 is such a good bench. It still scales with GPU speed and stuff, so that's really cool. Otherwise, not much to say about it. I don't know, like 05 or 06, yeah, whatever. 06, at least it's still sort of interesting to see it being run 10 core 16 thread on the 10900K, so that's nice. Cadzilla 4K, similar boat to PC Mark. It's been tried before and it failed. It'll fail again probably. It's really weird. I actually bought Cadzilla, but there was some sort of like Steam discount or something going on. So now I own Cadzilla through Steam, but the support from the developer side is so bad that it's actually like a fucking 15-step process to log into Steam, to install Cadzilla, just to extract your CD key, then uninstall Steam again, and then install a standalone version of Cadzilla and put in the CD key in there in order to be able to get a validation link. So it's just, the support is terrible. It's really, there's all sorts of tweaks about how you open up the 3D Mark 11 launcher in the background to boost the score and all sort of weirdness, but it's worth trying again. Maybe the developers have changed their tune a bit or whatever. Fine. So on the GPU side as well, they are going to, I don't know why I have separated the two fire strikes. Anyway, whatever. Slightly ordered wrongly, but GPPI 32M, 32B being added and 1B being removed. That's what I was talking about earlier. It's the same bench. It's just a longer runtime. If you look at sort of the 4-way standings and 3 and 2-way standings for GPU Pi 1B, with how strong the RTX 3090 is, it's now dropping sort of below 2 seconds and some stuff even below 1 second. So it makes sense to remove 1B and add 32B. That makes it quite a long run at the moment. But, you know, considering how good the new AMD cards are on compute, as soon as the fuckery they've built into the BIOS is lifted, at least for some cards, where I think the 6800 XT is limited to 2800 no matter what megahertz, and the 6900 XT is going to be limited to 3000. But I think if the overclocking community can apply enough pressure, maybe a select few individuals can get a custom BIOS flashed onto their... I know it's all like... The issue with this is that there's BIOS verification from the AMD side. So actually what you have to do is sort of talk to AMD directly, or maybe talk to AMD via, like, basically pressure the add-in board partners to pressure AMD, which yeah, might not lead to anything. But anyway, let's just assume that gets resolved. I think that 32B the runtime will be okay as well. I mean, it scales linearly, so any GPU that can do 1B in 1 second will be able to do 32B in about half a minute. So that's nice. Superposition. This has been I don't know when superposition was released. It's been around as pretty much as long as I've been around, I think. But there was a new version of it this year, 1.1. Now, the reason that superposition, they actually wanted to add superposition before, and that was cancelled. Basically, Unigine Heaven has been removed for many years. And the intention was to replace it with superposition, but it didn't seem to be ready then. So we ended up in a situation where no Unigine bench gets globals. And then now there's the version 1.1. I don't know if that's due to the feedback from the benching community or whatever, but whatever cheat or whatever some people found with 1.0, I don't know if it's in 1.1. Apparently not. Maybe somebody else knows. VR Mark, I think Orange got globals or something for a short while. That's, again, it's in a similar category to PC Mark. I'm not gonna get too excited at PC Mark and Cadzilla. I'm not going to get too excited about it because it's been tried before, you know, and it didn't work. So I don't really see any evidence to suggest that there's going to be a different result this time around. Port Royal. Yeah, I mean, obviously, longer term, benching needs to sort of follow the trends in gaming and productivity tasks in general. And obviously, over the course of the next God knows how long, 5 or 10 years, rasterization will be replaced with ray tracing to varying degrees. So it'll be good to have a ray tracing benchmark. I've heard it's very memory heavy. I don't know. It could be interesting. I mean, this generation of AMD isn't looking great for ray tracing, so you're sort of in a kind of vendor locked in position there, but I think that might resolve itself eventually. I don't know. I think it's here to stay. It's just a question of how quickly it will become important. I think 3D benches in general, like who really cares anymore about the world records? Um, I don't know. Maybe Time Spy people care about. Port Royal has just been this like weird YouTuber competition for however long it's been out, for the last year or so. I don't know if that makes it more important or less important. In my mind, it would be less important. So removed. Cinebench 15 I already talked about. Makes sense to remove one Cinebench and add another one. That's newer. Maximum read has been a curious one because it's actually the only bench that gives separate hardware points. It's actually globals, isn't it? Maybe this should be in the hardware points category. Let's double check. It's the only memory bench that gives separate points for DDR1, 2, and 3. Okay, so it should be in this bottom section. Sorry, it should be down here. Anyway, still good to talk about it because it's a really broken bench where it gives a wildly different results depending on everything, like depending on what version of the bench you're using, you know, the lunar phase, all that crap. So actually, there's nothing 2D that's been removed. Otherwise, let me just double check in case I missed something because the geek benches are staying. Right. Firestrike Ultra. Currently, there's globals for all 3 presets of Firestrike, so it's a little bit similar to what we used to have on the 2D side, where we had SuperPi 1M, 32M, W Prime 32M, and 1024M, and now we just have one preset of each bench instead of having 2. So they've decided to get rid of Extreme and Ultra and just keep the regular Firestrike. Makes some sort of sense. If I remember correctly, Extreme and Ultra were added together and they were added later than regular Firestrike. So this sort of tradition attached to Firestrike regular is bigger, so it sort of makes sense to keep it. Fair enough. I don't have any strong opinions there. Overall, I like the fact that they're reducing it from 3 to 1 presets, but how they do that doesn't really bother me that much. Okay, so hardware points. Yes, the other 2 Y Cruncher presets get hardware points as well, but hardware points are different, right? Like globals, just adding globals means people will bench it because you get a shit ton of globals for first place. Hardware points, it's only worth benching a particular piece of hardware if lots of other people have already benched a particular piece of hardware. So let's say in the global category, the fastest quad core, 6 core, 8 core will also accumulate hardware points straight away because people will be benching it for globals, and as a side effect you get hardware points. But let's say like the third fastest 6 core, it doesn't really matter so much if there's hardware points attached because there's no incentive there unless you tell 20 of your buddies, hey, you just all put up placeholder scores on this one CPU. That would be a good way of inflating your ranking. Actually, that's an exploit. Maybe I shouldn't have given you that idea. That's just completely lame. But anyway, doesn't matter so much, but it makes sense to have every preset of a global enabled bench get hardware points. Cinebench 23 multi-core. Okay, so that's the split they went with. Single core gets globals, multi-core gets only hardware points. Fair enough. Sort of the same thing as Y Cruncher. And then they're going to give hardware points for time spy extreme physics. I don't know, physics, 3 mark physics just need 20 friends. Hey, you have 20 friends. You're popular. You brew your own beer. That's all you need to have 20 friends. Yeah. There's been this physics, 3 mark physics benches, a beer sub, have been popular for competitions, especially live competitions, in-person competitions for a long time. But there's never been that momentum behind actually putting something in as a ranked bench. 3 mark 11 physics is the closest thing. So now we're trying time spy extreme physics. It's interesting because time spy extreme physics is not so latency dependent. It's more, it scales very, very well with threads all the way up to, I think, the biggest Threadripper, you know, the 64 core 128 thread one. But it doesn't it doesn't render in FPS like the other physics tests. It renders in average milliseconds per frame output. So that means it ran on the early Threadrippers, you know, the Gen 1 Zen ones, quite well, because those latency issues with the IO die and the Infinity Fabric and all that didn't cause as many issues because it's not as latency dependent. Of course, now with Zen 3, that's been sort of mitigated quite well. I have no fucking idea. Like 3 mark 99, who knows what's going on there? Let's recheck the thread. It probably has already been rectified, because I can't think of that as being an actual honest intended proposition, because that bench is really, really broken and 21 years old. Yeah, okay, it's been corrected in the last draft. Okay, cool. All right, that's a goner. Wildlife, never even heard of it. Cross-platform benchmark, yeah, it intends sort of, it's a little bit like Nightbot, I guess. So it tends to be sort of cross-platform across laptops and PCs and mobiles and stuff. Never run it, don't have an opinion on it. Why not ask one? Unity Heaven Extreme, still there. Ooh, they're even I made this list yesterday and it's already outdated. They're even proposing globals for Extreme. Never run it. Unigine Heaven Extreme, I don't even know. Isn't it called Unigine? Because there's a Heaven. Oh, they're adding regular Heaven. Okay, I thought it was another weird preset or something. Didn't that have bugs though? They must be mandating Windows 7 or something, because Heaven Extreme on 8.1 and later is broken. Okay, well, that's it, guys. Let me know what you think about my opinions, or just share your own opinions. What I have on the test bench today is the Extreme board, which Ginger in the chat also has. I've subbed a few things on it, but I think I wasn't happy because I didn't get 600 BCLK, for example. So I'm willing to put a little bit of extra time in today to see. Oh, as of course my benching hard drive isn't here. Well, that's a bit of a shame. I'll be right back. Can't really do much without an OS. Can check the max bootable BCLK, I suppose, but that's higher than the max postable, but that's higher than the max bootable, so not really a correct indicator. Yeah, I was able to do 585 yesterday. What I'm sort of wondering is these straps. So 1170. 1170. I sort of feel like trying the lower straps. It's sort of counterintuitive, but considering how much of a hard limit I faced yesterday. So posts, like, what does that mean? So I would have thought the closest BCLK to the one that you're actually setting is the strap you're supposed to select. But here we are booting 585 BCLK. You know, it's just gigabyte on 775 is an interesting thing. I have the E8400. It actually seems to be boot looping from last Country Cup in there. Okay, so let's just see how high we can boot on that strap. Did you ever try odd straps, Ginger? Come on. Show me the way. Tell me how to get 600 on this goddamn board. I'm obsessed with it. I should take notes more often. That's every bencher ever said that. Okay. Ooh, experienced the boot failure. Let's try that. What's up with Hardwarebot? Volts. Which volts? NGIX 1.14. That's Hardwarebot 2020 in a nutshell. That splash screen is so good. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my E80. The fuck did I even run last year? Maybe that's what's wrong. Maybe I have a terrible chip in here. Okay, that's sport isn't really cooperating all that much. Yes, so E80 200 is what I ran. I think it did 630 or something. It's another hot day. Okay, well, that's not. Doesn't seem to be helping. I could actually hook the North Bridge up to a chiller, couldn't I? 660. All right. Let's see what we can do. Because it does have Well, I didn't turn my pump on, so disregard the results from the last since I started clocking. Such a nice splash screen. Okay, so let's go BCLK. Yeah, the low strap here is too high. What about the low strap here? Also too high. But this 333 strap gives me 1160, and the 400 strap gives me 1160 as well. So let's try the 333 strap, or 333 as we say in Ireland. Okay. I'm finding it so different to DDR3 trying to clock Wolfdale on DDR2. Okay. Should I be checking my temps? MCH is 47, Ginger. I don't know, is that good or bad? I would have thought that's all right. So these streams have turned into a bit of a trilogy. First, Math Bench on AM2 Plus, then Max Memory on AM2 Plus, and now whatever this stream is turning into, probably just BCLK. Okay, let's do the disk chat check. Let's be nice. All right, here comes the reboot. Looks like a fail. Let's try 580. I was booting as high as 595 yesterday, but it didn't really help me in terms of in OS because I would still get a hard lock at 597 or so. The other thing is I could iterate through some CPU multipliers. Maybe try a half multiplier. Okay, we have a boot. $592, $595. Yeah, it always locks up. There's something. The consistency with which it locks up in that area is just insane. I don't really understand it. Oh, have you not been using setFSB? And I have varied a lot a lot of different things here. Okay, but one thing I am willing to try is just randomly go up one multiplier. 4.0, that should still be. Yeah, but the thing is, right? Bone stock RAM, I get to about 595. All kinds of settings applied, including loosening the RAM like crazy, I still get to 595. Like basically in between 1.1 volts MCH and 1.6 volts MCH, there's no different. GTL. Yeah, and I was gonna mess around with clock skew as well, like the picoseconds thing. That tends to help sometimes. Okay, that was worse. What did I do there? Oh, CPU multiplier. Yeah, okay. Let's see where the GTL voltages are, even are in this. Is it the CPU reference? Is that what it's called? Reference 1 and reference 2. These ones. Okay, let's take all the advice we're given. 1.4 MCH, even though I know it's not going to change anything, but at least it's not going to make anything worse. Okay, let's just try 1 volt. 1 volt on both. Let's see what happens. You know, if it blows up, it blows up. I did the LJ 771 mod the first time yesterday. That was fun. Got some cheap Xeons in. What's that smiley about? Well, I already know that GTL volts doesn't change anything. So sorry, MCH volts. So I feel okay changing that as at the same time as the other thing I changed, the GTLs. Okay, same issue. What can we do? Go to like 1.4 GTL or something? Zero, 2, and 1, 3. Weird how it defaults to such a high level then. Well, 0.655 can't even be set on this board. So this is the best I can do. Let's see if it will post. whatever, 590. Oh, I need to go back down to the 6 multi as well though. Did I do a sub for the G-Skill comp? No, I did not, but I can still sub later today. Okay, let's boot 590. Okay, now I reset. Fair enough. 5 hours left. Plenty of time. Okay. Wrong one. Alright, strap on auto. Back to 6 CPU multi. Back down to 1.4 core. And 1.4 MCH. And save that. And actually just auto strap and see what happens. .635 times VTT. VTT being the DRAM termination. Oh, that was a super fast boot. Don't really know what happened there. All right, we've got our 580. We've got our 6. Six multiplier, that is. VTT could be the CPU termination. So that then would be 0.635 times 1.2, 0.762. That will be matching them as closely as possible. Hey Keep, how are you doing? So auto MCH didn't do anything. Paranoid because you think you're going to lose the comp. So just to demonstrate here on all auto timings. Yeah, I don't know, Ralph might pull something out of his ass, but sort of doubt it. All right. I don't think that trained properly. Let's check in bias. No, it didn't. Let's give it a chance. At a lower FSP. So that's set okay. Okay, so I think it might need cast 6. What I just find frustrating about it is that I'll add a shit ton of voltage and it will neither go worse nor better, which is just doesn't make any sense to me. I haven't even really touched the minor voltages. I've only touched the voltages that people say do make a difference for max PCLK. Okay. Here's my solution to benching a gigabyte board. Replace it with an Asus. Sponsored by Gigabyte. What the hell? Gigabyte boards are only good for socket 1151 onwards and socket AM3 and AM4. It's see-through. It takes up part of the I/O as well. Yeah, X570 and especially B550 as well. Would help if I put the CPU in first before attaching the block. But everyone beefed up their VRMs from 370 to 390. 2 extra cores. Significant. That's kind of the, even though I know they're on the same socket now, it's still kind of like, in a way, in terms of cooling, that's the cutoff for me between mainstream and HEDT is 8 cores. At least on Intel, because it's such an old process. The cooling requirements go up so much between an 8700K and a 9900K. That's why they moved from paste to solder. We need our buttons, because unlike the Gigabyte, there's no inbuilt buttons. D4, what does that mean? Does it not like the stick or something? Let's try in the other channel, just in case. Weird, it's just regular Crucial D9. There's no, it's not one of the usual DDR2 suspects in terms of not being able to, you know, not having good compatibility. D5. Weird. Hopefully I can hit the same sort of frequency with this stick. Sort of biases even on here. (2010) sounds recent-ish. My LCD poster is broken. I have to solder it. Okay, it's latest. Okay. All right. This is going to be a very different experience. Okay, we want. What do we want? We want 6. We've got our strap again, but it doesn't make a difference. Oh, you can actually go to 18. I wonder if that's even going to post. But then TRAS limited it to 34. Seems very tight compared to your other board actually. Let's see if that's possible. It's 2 profiles, nice. This is almost guaranteed not to work, but let's see. I'm curious. On the Gigabyte, I always had to set tertiaries lower than secondaries. Okay, seems to be working. I'm tempted to disable USB controllers, but let's not go there yet. Now we want probably about 2.3 at least for the DRAM. 3.4. 1.35, whatever. Same for the core. I like this color coding. Okay, let's give this a sanity boot, just to make sure we haven't said something wildly inappropriate. And then we can start pushing the clocks. People have done like 620 on that Gigabyte board on air. Don't 00 on old Asus can mean booting, or it can mean KO. Ah, booting. Fair enough. 00AA. Good to remember that. Why doesn't that other DDR2 is funny. Funny how that stick doesn't boot. Now we might have to wait for a song and dance for the mouse to be recognized. PCI to PCI bridge, PCI to ISA. IDE channels. Now it's finding the floppy disk. Exciting stuff. It's gotten onto the USB. I think we're getting closer to recognizing the mouse, because this only has one PS2. Yes, human interface device. That's nice. That's what I want. I want an interface between me and the computer, please. Ah, see, it didn't. Why is Rasticast at 2? Okay. It's probably misreported, but 2 is definitely too low. Yeah, I don't know why they go to 18 and the others to 15. Let's set them to 15. That is a relatively common setting. 18 sounds a bit esoteric to me. There's our 0, again. Yeah, okay, so 18 is a no-go. That's good to know. Okay, let's try posting 450. Let's be gentle with this board. Oops. Weird how it didn't like my best stick though. Well, my second best stick, but still. $500. We're getting somewhere. Still a long way to go though. All right, 550 is good. If I can post 575, I'll let it go into the OS. It's looking promising. We had a long pause here as well previously, so it's not going to AA though. I'm not particularly attached to this stick, so I might just give it a little bit more. The ambient isn't ideal at the moment, but I can see maybe if 2.4 helps. Is it gonna boot? All right, so seems like a stick limitation. The problem, I just don't really know what all of my sticks do. I just know what my best sticks do. $40 on the North Bridge. Whatever, like I said, I don't really care about this stick, so I'll try 2.5. So I actually subbed a 347 BCLK on this board. Ooh, I'd actually get like 10, almost like 10 hardware points. So let's see, where are the all air subs? This is LN2. We have a boot. But now we're somewhat unreactive, to say the least. I mean, I can try my high bin Kingstons again, but it didn't really work that well on the other board. Let's see. Okay, bad stick. It's a shame that this spec doesn't allow, it doesn't seem like any stick actually will post CL7. CL7 seems to be fake basically on DDR2. Let's literally just try to post the same thing again. Let's see what happens. This stick has an SPD of 2.35 volts, so 5 isn't really going that much higher. Seems even worse. Just horrendous. Okay, let's give it a chance to train up a little bit. That's a hang. I think these sticks are borderline defective, to be honest. So that's 550. I wish I could just disable the USB controller so it doesn't hang on this step. All right. Can I just post the good stick that I know I have? Where is it again? Almost makes more sense to post a good stick that has issues posting than try and... Okay, here we go. Let's give this another go. Try and make a bad stick act like a good stick. Oh, here we go. This was hanging on D4 earlier. Okay, I'm now a little bit more confident. Okay, 550. I've gotten past the initializing USB controller stage. 575 and boot, please. So I was looking at the different ref clock scores. Ooh, so Knox 650 is actually on a Rampage formula. Holy shit balls. CL5, of course, just to rub it in my face. See, that's the thing. Oh, I'll have to come back to that. Almost booted. Okay, let's just go 560. $6850 bus ends up in DDR 1200. That's not 1:1. I don't really get it. it's the wrong clock controller, isn't it? BKO, EPL. Okay, 918 BKO. I see his LPRS. Maybe we need to enable ultra. Okay. Let's grab a 570 while we can. Or maybe while we can't. Hello, Windows. Interesting soft lock going on there. These values are completely different to what the other board set. It's 1.55 now. That sounds high. Let's go to 1.4. Crazy to think that this ROG has been around for so long. Okay, we have a valid file. Not a very good one, but a 571. Here's a 580. 590. $5.95. And it stops at the exact same point. Could this be a wolf tail that doesn't go above 595? Is that even in the realm of possibility? It's done that now on two wildly differing boards and setups. All right. Let me throw the good 8200 in there. And if that doesn't do it, then I'm a failure as a bencher. What are these? So that chip, the 8400 was 6 to 9 multi. I wonder what this chip will be limited to. It's going to be like 4 to 6 or something. So lowering the termination did seem to help a bit. Good old GD 900 paste. Hope the chat is still connected. Seems to be working. Let's put some goop on there. Well, GD900 is probably produced using slave labor, you know. There's a shot of my very organized benching area with a lonely looking F1 pot in the background. 38 postcode, that's a good start. So an 8200 is only, oh, that makes sense. 8200 is up to 8, 8300 is up to 8.5, 8400 9, and then all the way up to an 8700, which is 10.5. Okay, that makes it easy. Let's not mince any words. FSB termination at 1.4. I mean, they're both known good chips, but this is this is an even better clocker. This did 660 on LN2, so 662 actually. So no board is going to be limited. I mean, if the board doesn't do 600, it won't be the chip's fault. Let's put it this way. That was 575. Maybe there's some sort of weird dead zone there. Let's again go to like 565. Oh. God's sake. $88. The hell? Love it when you underclock something and it starts complaining. But it was fine overclocked. I just heard a noise and now it's throwing 0-0. It's not good. I can smell an ever so slight burning smell from the board. So So not sure what to do really. Probably end of sessions, realistically. All right, looks like I had to reseat the GPU apparently. We're back in business. Thanks for the follow, Beardy Baldy, wherever you are. Much appreciated. Okay, so this was just a testing stick. Let's go back to our known good stick. At least this board doesn't have the same weird BCLK overclocking failure logic that Gigabyte has, where you sometimes don't really know. Don't really know whether BCLK has reset or not. And then you boot into Windows and you're disappointed when you see CPU Z. Come on, just give me a boot. 0-0. Okay, let's go lighter with the clock twister. I thought I said FSB termination. Okay. It's almost like something is shorting out when I set the termination too low. It's really weird. or the chip or board were dying all along and it just came back briefly. End of session. All right. Clearly something's dead and I probably shouldn't continue killing stuff. If anyone else knows how to clock bloody FSB on DDR2, send me a PM on Discord or wherever, because it's, yeah, it's weird. All right. Thanks for watching.